like to welcome each and every one of you to this evening's meeting on this Tuesday, November 1st. We're approaching year end. This is the 21st meeting of the Board of Directors during calendar year 2022. We'll begin with the invocation by Keith Capps, and I'll lead the pledge. All rise.
Let's pray. Thank you, God, for this day you have given, and thank you for your many blessings. I pray that we have been good stewards of all that you have provided for us this day, and that you're pleased in how we have shown the love of Jesus and cared for others. God, I thank you for the men and women who serve our city and county so faithfully, recognizing that leadership often pulls us away from our families and things that are so precious to us. So I pray a special blessing over all of those who seek to lead us well. Father, redeem the time away from their families and return to them, God, that which they have so graciously given to serve our community. Lord, I also pray over our first responders and our troops this evening, those who make sacrifices we so often take for granted. Protect them, provide for them and for their families as only you can. May they feel our support in tangible expressions of love and gratitude, and may we not take for granted the freedoms that you have so graciously given our nation. God, you are good and faithful to us, far beyond anything that we deserve. And in this season of thankfulness, we turn our eyes first to you, for you alone are worthy of our praise. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'll now call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Director Aaron Holliday. Here. Director Elaine Jones. Director Marcia Dobbs-Smith.
Here.
Director Carol Weatherford.
Here.
Director Karen Garcia.
Here.
Director Steve Trusty.
Here.
Mayor Pat McCabe.
Here. Now we'll consider the approval of the agenda. Are there any additions, deletions to the agenda, or items to be removed from consent agenda and placed on new business?
Mayor, there is one item. It's item 6 under new business. It's a resolution that would consider a structure at 215 Television Hill a nuisance. That property has been cleared. The structure no longer constitutes a nuisance and no longer needs your attention in that regard. We'd ask that that be removed from tonight's agenda.
All right. Do we need a motion to remove that? Or
Yes, sir.
Move to amend the agenda and remove item 6.
Director Garcia, seconded by
Second.
Director Dobbs-Smith. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion to approve as amended.
So move.
Director Garcia, seconded by Director Trustee. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Agenda is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
At this time, we'll have a consideration of the minutes of the regularly held meeting of October 18, 2022. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections to those minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Director Trustee made the motion, seconded by
Second.
Director Holliday. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Minutes are approved. A couple recognition of guests or proclamations today. The first, I'm going to call upon Director Garcia, City Director, District 5, for the Extra Mile Day proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas Hot Springs is a community which acknowledges that a unique vibrancy exists within the community as a whole when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Hot Springs is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Hot Springs is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals and organizations within our community who go the extra mile and make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Hot Springs acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America to create 500 Extra Mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1st, 2022. Now, therefore, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, and on behalf of the entire Board of Directors of the City of Hot Springs, does hereby proclaim November 1st, 2022 as Extra Mile Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and each individual in the community is urged to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, community, country, and the world a better place. And this is in witness thereof, set in hand, caused by the seal of the city to be affixed this first day of November in the year of our Lord, 2022, by Pat McCabe, Mayor.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. You know, cancer is such a ugly disease, and we all know those who have left us as a result of cancer, and when it hits the youngest, it's doubly ugly. And today, you know, we have a special proclamation. I'd like to call Kimberly Walters and her supporters and family and friends to the podium, and we'll read this special proclamation. Kimberly is the founder and CEO of Savannah Walters Foundation. City of Hot Springs proclamation. Zebra Cake Day for Childhood Cancer Awareness. Whereas childhood cancer rates have been rising for the past few decades, around 10,470 children in the United States under the age of 15 will be diagnosed with cancer in 2022. And in 1 in 6 children with cancer in America do not survive 5 years. And whereas, as of 2020, only 6 new drugs have been developed for childhood cancer. This is only one of the many challenges facing families with a childhood cancer diagnosis, including the financial burden ahead of them. And whereas the Savannah Walters Memorial Foundation, established June 2nd, 2022, is a realization of the dream of the late Savannah Savvy Cassandra Walters by her family and friends to bring awareness to childhood cancer, help cancer families financially, and contribute to childhood cancer research. And whereas Savannah was a typical teenager and in her senior year in high school when she was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's anaplastic large cell lymphoma. She was told she would not be able to return to school, but she persevered. She made it to her senior prom, the senior's last day, in the senior parade. She walked across the graduation stage with her head held high. Savannah endured several rounds of treatment and a bone marrow transplant and almost won her fight against cancer 2 times. After 11 months of being a true warrior, Savannah passed away on November 30th, 2019. And whereas while battling cancer, Savannah's family would bribe her with the zebra cakes to help her through the treatments. And a zebra cake was her last meal on November 11th before she had to be intubated for the last time. To honor her and to raise awareness about childhood cancer, her family encouraged everyone on Facebook to join them in a Zebra Cake Day on November 11, 2020. The day was a success, with hundreds joining in to show their support. And now, therefore, I, Pat McCabe, Mayor of the City of Hot Springs, on behalf of the Board of Directors, do hereby proclaim November 11, 2022 as Zebra Cake Day in Hot Springs, Arkansas. And I invite all residents to enjoy a zebra cake on this day and to support Savannah Walters Memorial Foundation's mission of helping cancer families financially, raising awareness, and contributing to childhood cancer research. A witness wherever I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be affixed on this first day of November in the year of our Lord, 2022. And I have the proclamation to present to you.
Thank you very much for continuing to help us bring awareness to childhood cancer. Oops. Thank you very much for continuing to help us bring awareness to childhood cancer. My daughter's mission was to help support children suffering as she did. Thank you.
Thank you. This time we'll hear from Mr. Burrow, our city manager, for the city manager's report.
Thank you, Mayor. That's tough to follow. I received an email from the Ouachita Children, Youth, and Family Services sharing that the Arkansas Balance of State Continuum of Care website is now 508 compliant, thanks to new software to make their site accessible for individuals with disabilities. And I realized that our website, cityhs.net, also implemented similar software this year that I don't think I've shared with the board, so I wanted to make you aware of that. When you visit any of our web page on our website, you'll see a round blue icon with a person in the bottom right corner of the screen. Click on that to open the audio eye toolbar, which allow users to customize the website to make it more accessible for their individual needs, including ways to highlight, increase the size, change the style of the text, change the contrast, coloring of the pages, and so on. Our website is also monitored by AudioEye to ensure that continued accessibility certification and users can access their 24/7 accessibility help desk. So really proud of the work that Katie and Aaron and our information systems department, our public information department helped us with. And that's been a real benefit, and just again, it reminded me whenever I received that from Ouachita Children's and wanted to share that with the board. I'm proud of our departments and employees who have been busy recently representing the city of Hot Springs at various community functions throughout the city. Boo with the Badge is a prime example last night. I'm hearing it was another great success. There was a long line of families at the Hot Springs World Class High School for the booths, candy, vehicles, and then the haunted house to explore. The police department always does a great job, fantastic job on this event, and thanks to others participating employees and departments that were there with a booth as well. We also had another great booth this year at the Chambers Business Expo, and the following day we had our Employee Fall Harvest Festival where we served barbecue for all the employees at the farmers market. Just want to have a big thanks to Sheila Winter, Katie Yamaguchi, Rachel Keeling, and everyone involved in organizing, helping to set up, decorating, and pulling all these back-to-back events together. It really had a great time at the Fall Fest that we had at the farmers market. I think they told me the final tally was somewhere around 275 employees that came through and got something to eat. So really good turnout, really good time, and just appreciate all those that helped with that event as well. And Director Weatherford, we appreciate being able to use that smoker. 20 butts would have been tough on the little grill I have, so thank you for that.
My pleasure.
The City of Hot Springs Community Development Block Grant Program will accept applications for projects using fiscal year 2023 CDBG funds from December 5th through January the 27th. All application materials and requested documents must be submitted by 4 p.m. January 27th with no exceptions. Application materials will be made available in mid-November at the cityhs.net/community-development. I want to give an update on our STR update. The special use permits, that application deadline was today at noon. We saw a pretty good rush down in the planning department. Our weekly STR meeting on Thursday, we had received 3 SUP applications for November. When they shut down the application at noon today, there were a total of 41. So I know that was a very busy couple of days for our planning and development staff, and we appreciate what they're trying to do to get those in. by far our most productive month, going back to January of this past year. Special use permits are required for STRs, short-term rentals in residential zones. And beginning January 1st, 2023, we have a cap of 400 for STRs in those residential zones. Since there will be more than 400 licenses in residential zone districts as of January 1st, such licenses that exceed the 400 will be subject to an annual renewal and will be allowed to do so. For more information on short-term rentals and regulations, again, visit our website, cityhs.net/STR. I'm very pleased to announce that our August sales tax revenues are up 7.39%. We see our year-to-date, August 2022, is again 7.39% higher than last year, but also year-to-date was 8% higher. So doing very well on the sales tax collections, and it's amazing how many people are coming to Hot Springs. I saw a report today that this doesn't capture all the people in our downtown area, but at least those that had time to stop by our visitor center in Hill Wheatley Plaza. This year there were 12,044 people stopped by that center in October. Wow. Last October it was 11,033, so they had maybe I had that wrong. They had 2,010 more this October than last October. And at 13,044, yeah, it was 2010. Yeah. But 13,044 people in 1 month stopping down at that visitor center, and we saw everyone. Almost all the states were included in that. Several countries. Russia was one that we had just the other day. I get an email every day of the number of people that stopped in the visitor center and what states they were from, and that's tracked over with the A&P and Visit Hot Springs. But really interesting to see that, because October has always been kind of the month where we slowed down a little bit, and that just doesn't appear to be the case anymore. Paving program update. We're out resurfacing streets again. We've got the paving crews back out. Had my note. Back in August, we were able to get McClendon Street, Eder Street, Summer Street, and Kimry Street completed. And then August 24th, the pavers came back in. We resumed milling, and they were paving what we had already milled. They were able to pave Rector Heights. West Grand is happening now from 3rd Street to Summer Street. Lacey Street's about 90% complete. From there, we'll be milling 2nd Street, Linwood, Rector, Garland, and as soon as they get those milled, the paving crews, when they finish West Grand, will start moving over and pave those 3 streets. We're going to keep them here as long as we can. We're going to be battling the cold weather probably here in the next few weeks. But we've got a lot of streets still on the list for 2022, and hopefully we'll get those knocked out and get ready for our 23 budget schedule. Last item I got is Clean Sweep continues to be a really big success, and that's a partnership with many city departments, planning and development, our neighborhood services, our solid waste department. They had 110 stops over the last area. They had 400 address points from Malvern Avenue to Stacy Street. They resulted in 24.5 tons of debris at those 110 stops, and the debris was 19.3 tons of miscellaneous materials, your couches, your chairs, your bulky items, and then about 5 tons of brush, and then just a half ton of litter that was on the streets that they were able to pick up. So we really appreciate those employees for getting out there and making our city look better, and appreciate the residents, those 110 that took advantage of that program. Again, when we come in on a clean sweep, we visit the first week and leave notices and packets of information to let the homeowner know what we observed, and that we'd be back over the following week to pick up any items they wanted to discard at curbside. And then the third week, our neighborhood services makes a trip back through those same areas and discusses anything that's still out there. So appreciate all the efforts of those employees and our residents that took advantage. Mayor?
Very good. Thank you very much. We have a couple director announcements of upcoming events, and we have some required acknowledgements that I'll provide right now, and then we'll get to the individual directors. Acknowledgement that by myself as for our upcoming agenda meetings and our Board of Directors meetings from January through June 2023. You know, they'll take place during our usual times, and so we have to do that every 6 months. And City Director, District 1, Aaron Holliday will serve as Assistant Mayor for from January through June of 2023. So congratulations.
Thank you. I worked hard for it.
Now we'll go. Now we'll go to individual directors' announcements for any upcoming events. Director Garcia.
Our next regular meeting will be on the 15th, and before that, next week on the Friday, the 11th, is our Veterans Day, and want to acknowledge all of our veterans and appreciate them. And the memorial ceremony will be at the Veterans Memorial at 11 a.m. on the 11th, and the public's invited.
Very good. Thank you. Any other? Director Holliday?
I'm sure everyone is quite aware that it is voting season, but just reminding everyone that early voting is happening now. You can actually go and vote at the Election Commission between now and Election Day if you want to skip the lines. Election Day is next Tuesday, and personally, I want to encourage everyone to be an informed voter. It can be very confusing with a lot of stuff that comes out during campaigns and also the 4 ballot initiatives. There's a lot of information online. The University of Arkansas puts out a voter guide for the 4 ballot initiatives if you have any confusion. And if you have any questions about how things actually work here, I think any one of us would be happy to answer in case you're a little confused with the information that's going around. You can connect with me directly and I can answer any questions about sort of how things go here in the city and point you to the right person if I don't have the answer for you. So be informed and definitely go exercise your right to vote.
Very good. Any other announcements of any upcoming event? Hearing none, I'll just make the citizens aware that 4 of us, 4 directors, myself, Director Holliday, Director Dobbs-Smith, and Director Garcia, recently completed the Arkansas Environmental Academy of South Arkansas University Tech Retail Water Provider Training Act of 605 of 2021. We're required now as elected officials to receive some mandatory training, and 4 of us did that, and the city board is required to have no less than 4 who are certified, and there are other opportunities to be certified between now and year end. And you know, Act 605 was promulgated in part because of Senator Clark's task force on review of water utilities, and one of the things that that came out of that was the awareness that many water utilities were not having their rates set properly to fund ongoing operations nor their capital improvements. So there was a significant amount of time spent during this educational session of rate setting and other regulatory matters, and so we were, while we have a city manager form of government and we have excellent staff, it was a good education opportunity for us elected officials to sit through this. Director Dobbs-Smith, do you have any takeaways from that?
Yeah, they forgot to give me my certificate.
You what?
They forgot my certificate.
Oh, you
Now, my takeaway from it was that our rates are pretty much set by our debt obligation, and that we are bound by law to not have rates lower than our obligation. So even if we wanted to lower, we could not unless we lower our debt somehow.
It indicated that if you're not able to satisfy your debt, you could be considered in
Criminal.
financial distress, and as that spirals out of control, you could lose the your authority to operate the utility. The state could come in and run the utility.
There were some other things about the incremental rate increases, which I think we have been doing. Rather than put one big rate increase, we've done it incrementally. And I believe that the new program, if it stays that way, we'll have to raise it faster. Is that correct?
Yeah, depending on how far out of whack you are.
Well, we're
there's
pretty-
a, there's
we're in
a
good shape.
formula for you to increase it and get yourself compliant.
This was, there were, just for those who, in the listening audience, there were people there from little towns all over Arkansas. It wasn't just for the city of Hot Springs. This is mandated for all water utility providers in the state. And elected officials are required to attend. So there were people there from Glenwood and DeQueen and all kinds of, and some of them truly did not have a clue. And I'm just very glad that we have our city manager form of government and professional water. When we did our water tour, that's one of the things that really stood out is how many of our water operators are certified, and they have to be. One of the things the presenter said was they had people who couldn't pass the test in some of these rural water areas, and they have to fire them if they can't pass. They give them so many times to pass, and if they don't, they're out.
Director Holliday, do you have any takeaways from that session?
Well, kind of dovetailing on Director Dobbs-Smith, a lot of times when the instructor would ask a question, who knows this, who's seen this, we all go, us. We were the only ones in the room, and part of it, I think, is because the proximity to our tour of our facilities. But we're in pretty great shape, and that was really nice to, know and actually have that perspective hearing from an authority in the field, and that we are on the right track with how we're not just rate setting, but really, being forward thinking with our utilities and making sure that we're balancing what it is that our residents need, but also what the municipality needs now and in the future. So it gave me, additional confidence in what it is that we're doing here. And so that was nice.
Yeah, one of the interesting points that the instructor was the utilities manager of the Fort Smith Utilities, and he made comment about their high sewer rates compared to other services throughout the state. And he did make mention and pointed that out, that we're tackling the issues directly today. The rest of the state will catch up to us, and their rates will come up to our rates as they address all the requirements that must be met. So he felt very comfortable with, where they're at in addressing their consent administrative orders, knowing that others will have theirs to be addressed in the future.
They also made mention of several cities who have had boil orders, and the city of Van Buren, for one. And then, of course, Jackson, Mississippi's had a terrible time.
Yeah.
Director Garcia?
Yes, she mentioned Jackson, and they said that now, because they haven't addressed anything there, it's going to be over $1 billion to correct that system there. So you can imagine what that does to a water rate. But I was impressed also that in the class, they used a lot of pictures from Hot Springs for good examples. So that was also reassuring that others were following along our long-term plans and what has already been accomplished along that plan. So that was nice to see.
Anything else? Any other upcoming events? Well, thank you very much. At this time, we'll move on to the consent agenda. These items of our routine nature and do not warrant individual discussion, so I'll entertain a motion to accept it. We got Steve Trustee, Director Trustee made a motion to
Yes, sir. I'll make the
accept
motion.
the consent agenda as presented, seconded by Director Weatherford. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda is adopted. Item 6 we removed. And so that brings us down to item 7, and we'll consider Resolution R-22-171, and now ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R-22-171, a resolution declaring a certain structure located at 1400 Hobson Avenue in the city of Hot Springs a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt?
So moved.
Director Dobbs-Smith,
Second.
seconded by Director Holliday, and a staff report will be by Kathy Selman, and Director Selman will be providing all the staff reports tonight, so
Yes.
you're just going to stand
Thank
there
you.
all day.
We get a stool.
Okay.
nice.
What do you have for us today?
Well, the first item that we have for you is 1400 Hobson Street. This is a request for condemnation for the purpose of demolishing and clearing a vacant residential structure there. The Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, Volume 2, Building, Section 116.1, Unsafe Structures and Equipment Conditions, sets out those circumstances which make for an unsafe structure. It concludes that unsafe structures shall be taken down and removed or made safe as the building official deems necessary and as provided for in this section, and specifically mentions a vacant structure not secured against entry shall be deemed unsafe. The timeline of events here, starting in March of 2021, a vacant structure notice was issued to repair siding, replace missing window and door trim, paint the exterior of the structure, cut shrubs away from the house, and requesting an interior inspection. A second notice was issued in January of 2022. And we are here this evening requesting consideration after providing notice of condemnation to the owner and posting the structure regarding this meeting. Photos dated October 5th demonstrate the building maintenance has been neglected to the point that the studs and sills on the exterior walls on both the north and west sides of the structure have deteriorated to the point of collapse, resulting in bowing and loss of the siding and stucco, and the building official has deemed the building unsafe. The current owner of the property is Mr. Zach Hammonds. He purchased the property in 2018. After allowing ample time to make repairs and due to the extent of deterioration and having no reasonable alternative, the structure should be raised and removed.
Any questions of Ms. Selman from the directors?
I must say that I get regular complaints on that property for bad actions going on around there. Apparently they were able to get in it and do things.
When we were at the site the last time looking at the structure, neighbors came to say those very things, and we're quite anxious that this resolution be approved and the whole situation be concluded.
Any further questions by directors? Thank you. Oh, Director Garcia?
Sorry. I was trying to see or remember, when is this expected to be raised?
We have a 30-day appeal period from the date of approval of the resolution. We would look at removing this as soon as possible. Of course, requesting bids so that the lowest responsive bidder can provide the service.
So before the end of the year?
That is certainly our hope, yes.
Possibility, okay. Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you. We have one gentleman, I believe the owner, has signed up to speak on this, and Mr. Zach Hammonds. Please come forward, restate your name and your address, please, and what city district you live in.
My name's Zach Hammonds. Live at 481 Bittersweet in Royal. I'm not sure what district I'm in. I'm the owner of the property, and I'd just like to say a few things.
The action that we may be taking today is condemnation. What is your plan for the property? Are you able to take out a building permit and show progress, or what are we looking at here?
I do real estate full-time here in Hot Springs. I'm a realtor. I have 18 rental units as well as multiple flips going currently. I don't see where tearing down the property would benefit the city or its citizens. As you all know, we have a huge shortage of rentals here in Hot Springs. That's a duplex multifamily, as well as the revenue that might be. I mean, if you bulldozed it, the only person that's going to come out ahead is the contractor that gets $3,000 to $5,000 to bulldoze it. Whereas if it could, my plan would be to. It's on the market right now. It's actively listed. It's listed aggressively. I tried selling it a year or two ago for $40,000. It's assessed with the county on Act Data for $55,000. I've priced it at $15,000, hoping for a quick sale with full disclosure about the situation. My hope is to bring an investor in, to pump some money into it and bring some revenue to town and really just rehab the property. If it's bulldozed due to the new setback lines, I mean, nothing could really ever be put back on the property ever again, and I just don't see where that would benefit the city or anybody as far as that goes. So my goal is to I guess what I would like is a little bit of time to sell the property and get an investor in there that can do some work. And if I can't sell it, then I could potentially pull a permit and begin a remodel. I would rather attempt to sell it first.
Okay. Well, certainly the owner has the option of removing the structure themselves. We had that happen earlier. We took off one item that the owner removed the structure, and therefore we didn't have to go through a condemnation. But at the same time, to the degree that you have the ability to rehab it and take a building permit and show regular progress, then we generally work with the homeowner, but we also hold them accountable for making progress.
Yep.
And so if we take an action tonight that is to condemn, that doesn't mean we'll be out tomorrow morning.
Well, yes, sir. I realize.
So,
I guess what I'd like is a little bit of time because, it takes time to market the property, to generate a contract, and then to fulfill that contract with title work and a sale. And then, it's just going to take, just asking for a little bit of time.
Director Garcia?
How long has this property been on the market for sale?
A little over a week.
Oh, just a week?
Yes.
And, but you had a permit back in 2018? Is that
Yes,
when
I
you
was
obtained the
issued-
property?
I was issued some citations for, I don't recall exactly, but some exterior citations. I went to court and dealt with the fines or whatever, and then it's been pretty quiet on that, and I just got distracted. Like I said, I have quite a few properties. I just got distracted with other properties, and it just kind of went from nothing happening, getting citations in 2018 to condemning all of a sudden with nothing, well, other than a letter or two in between. There was no real. I mean, it just went from 0 to 100 like pretty quick. So,
If you received an offer that you could accept and within the next 30 days and demonstrated that to the planning department. I think they work with you to close the sale.
Yes, I just, you know, it's gonna take a little bit of time, and I want the new owner's obviously gonna have to work with the city as far as permits and stuff, and I just ask for a little bit of time before it's, condemned. It just makes it a little bit harder to sell as well.
Okay. Any other questions of directors?
I've got a question. When was the last time you had power to that structure?
I've never had power to that structure.
So
When I-
you haven't had a tenant in it since,
When I purchased the property, my intent was to at some point remodel the property and return it to a duplex. It was in poor shape when I bought it. I inherited that shape. I have not done much to fix it up at all by any means. I'll accept that. I just, got busy, and but I don't know when's the last time
and how long have you owned it?
since 2018.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions of Mr. Hammonds? Thank you. Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. This time we'll consider Resolution 022-172 and ask the city attorney to read by title.
Resolution R 22-172, a resolution declaring certain structure located at 357 Holly Street a nuisance and condemning same pursuant to Title 17 of the Hot Springs Code. That concludes your reading, Mayor. I believe that Director Holliday needs to recuse on this matter, but if you would entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt?
Well,
So
I
moved.
recuse myself in advance.
Director
Second.
Trustee, seconded by Director Garcia. And our staff report will be provided by, again, Kathy Selman, Director
Thank
of
you.
Planning and Development.
This is a request to remove a vacant structure at 357 Holly Street. Again, the definition of unsafe structure at the Arkansas Fire Prevention Code, Volume 2, Building, Section 116.1, unsafe structures and equipment conditions, governs in this case. Unsafe structures shall be taken down and removed or made safe, and a vacant structure that is not secured against entry shall be deemed unsafe. Photos dated October 5th demonstrate that the building is not secured against entry and is in fact missing a structural wall, and the building official has deemed the building to be unsafe. After being notified of our intention to bring this property to the board for condemnation, ownership of the property changed hands in February of this year when Mr. George Bennett sold the property to Ms. Charlotte Dean of Charlotte Buys and Sells Investments LLC. After allowing the new owners ample time to begin making repairs due to the extent of deterioration and having no reasonable alternative, the structure should be raised and removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of Ms. Selman? The scrolling, Ms. Selman, I was seeing the scrolling. There was a warning posted on the structure around March 1st. Was that correct?
That, I believe, yes. We have timeline in the file.
There it is.
Yes.
And what is the purpose of the warning and what action was taken?
The purpose of the warning is to notify the owner that unsafe conditions are present and that condemnation and removal is a possibility. It notifies of a meeting in March, and at that time, I believe we had not perfected notice. It has been challenging to obtain a receipt for service to the owner. And so we are here tonight. Having perfected notice, Mr. Hardage personally dropped the paperwork off at the end of last week and was able to obtain acknowledgement of that service.
Any additional questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you.
Thank you.
We have an individual who has signed up to speak on this matter. Charlotte Dean, would you please come forward? Is Charlotte here? Come on forward and restate your name, address, and district, please.
Hello, Charlotte Dean, 357 Holly Street, Hot Springs, Arkansas. I'm really not not sure of the district as well. First of all, I do want to apologize. I'm a real estate agent, new as well. I relocated in the summer, July 2021, from Austin, Texas. I recently had a baby in March. My overall goal was to be an investor here. Ms. Holliday's very familiar with me. I came in hard on Park Avenue. I brought in a lot of out-of-state investors. I purchased 5 properties the beginning of December. When I was beginning, I put out bandit signs and stuff, and Mr. Bennett called me. I put the home, I was in closing, and that's when Mr. Hardage had called me, and I learned about the condemning. Well, it's usually not an issue because I don't sit on my properties. I put a minimum of 60 to 70 grand. I had acquired 4 doors 2 months before that. I was already in a deep remodel of them. I acquired it in February. Within those 3 weeks, my subcontractor pulled the permit, and I thought it was settled. I had a C-section. When I came back out to run business, I found out that his repairs, I guess, was rejected from the city. It didn't add up. That subcontractor and I are now going through a small court claims. He had unauthorized charges along with his 12 employees. So I lost my crew, and I'm an active landlord. I went through an ugly eviction, and the timing is not in my favor. I've relocated into one of my primary rent houses in the area. Mr. Hardage knows I've been working on other projects, been corresponding with him on that. Again, like I said, the timing, I actually have investors coming in town tomorrow. My goal overall is to sell this because my other properties, I bit off more than I can chew. I was not expecting this inflation. Kind of hurt me. I went and got my license active in June with ESQ Realty to kind of offset that. So that's just kind of where I am. I'm usually not a person to sit on it. I'm putting all my efforts into restoring Park Avenue, and it has not been easy for me, that's for sure.
Any questions of Ms. Dean? Director Garcia?
In these pictures, I guess it's the back side that looks like it's all open. Is that correct?
Yes, that was from the previous owners. I believe he was trying to save it from condemned and being structurally sound. And I actually, my partner is my full-time project manager, but he does handyman, and we cleared off property for person, and we have the base of a trailer that we were going to park to the side of it and add on, which I actually have bought the lumber when we pulled the permit, so I have the lumber for it. But at this case, I think it's just easier for my investors. And in my defense, I will tell you guys where I come from. I moved to this market because there's not a lot of investors that build from the ground up. And I personally did not know Mr. Hammond's situation, but I just sold one directly across from him. I have investors from California, Florida, Israel. I mean, crazy places coming in, and that's a niche that I went into because there's not a lot here. And I've seen that potential because there are so many vacant and distressed properties here, but it has been an issue because my investors, I sold 4 on Bauer this summer, and every single property, even with full surveillance, was broken into and $15,000 to $20,000 worth of damage. So they're not buying from me right now. We're trying to straighten that out. So I'm still pulling in investors. It's pretty easy. The numbers work here. The numbers are a lot better than Austin, Texas, you can imagine. But it makes me look bad when I'm bringing them this neighborhood that's, they usually a B plus for them is a stretch, and then they're getting vandalized. But I know within time their appreciation will be there, and we're all working together to restore this neighborhood. So.
How do you keep people from vagrants from getting inside this property?
To be honest, I don't. They're on heavy substance. They see their surveillance. I own across from this Ditz mansion. I own 3 properties on the 800 block. And I had to call the cops yesterday because just they ripped off the door handle. Like they're just manhandling it right in front of cameras. I have pictures on them. Like I just called the cops, and at the community now, we're neighborhood watch. We work together. You know, we make calls, and when new people come in, we watch them, and they're usually an issue. So I live in that neighborhood as well, so it makes it easier for me to stay on my projects.
So what would it take to secure this structure? You know, Ms. Selman indicated that a support wall's been removed, and
Yeah, to be honest, I wasn't ever going to try to secure. I was just going to tear it down and start from the ground up. You can see it's one of the worst properties that I have acquired. That's why I didn't jump on it. Plus the property, that street is just, it's not a street at the time. It put 150 grand into something. The vacant lot next to it was overgrown with, to my favors, cleared up the house beside it. Probably has been under y'all's radar as well, and then the lot across from it is not buildable because the Fresh Spring, which I have acquired about it. I usually like to buy the vacant lots as well, and then I can wholesale it. And a lot of my strategy is coming in on these homes and fixing them up and putting the updated electrical, plumbing, or et cetera, and then I'll bring it to investors locally that don't do full remodel. Like, for example, I'm doing that right now at 835 Park Avenue. It was a disaster. It was an old morgue when I bought it. I changed 95% of the layout, updated the roof, plumbing, electrical, make it easier for those people to just off-sell.
so your intention then is, for this structure, is to remove it.
To remove it. I was actually wanting to put a duplex on it, to be honest, because that whole street is rentals. It's not really primary residence. Most of them are short-term and I do know a lot of the residents, most of them, I would say 90% on that street are rentals.
What was your time frame on removing the structure?
Well, it was supposed to be by now, to be honest, but within 3 to 4 months on it for sure. Because I don't like to see that either, guys. I'm all in your favor. I don't like to see that sore eye, especially when I'm putting all my hard-earned money into that neighborhood. I like to see those comps. That's why I'm bringing in investors so we can help each other. When I started here, we were at $33 a square foot, and now we're at $140 at Terry Land and Congress. So we're working. We're getting there. Just a slow process with finding contractors.
Okay. Anyone have a question of Ms. Dean?
Was the intention for this to be short-term rental?
No, ma'am. I don't own any short terms.
Okay.
Mine are all long term.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions? So if we take action tonight to condemn, as we told the previous, on the previous resolution, you know, that action wouldn't unfold for at least 30 days, and if you maintain good communication with Mr. Michael Scott and/or Ms. Kathy Selman as to what your plans are, they'll work with you on it.
Yeah.
But it sounds like your interests and the city's interests are the same.
Very much
It's,
so.
Who
And, you know, to be
takes
honest,
it down
if-
and the timing of it.
If my investors come in tomorrow and that's not something they want, because I do have to build a crew for them, it'll make my job easier. And a lot of them, they'll 50-50 with me on partnership. So it goes a little bit more as being an agent side because I'm doing all this sweat equity. So if they're not interested tomorrow, since I don't have any interest listing it, I will find funding for it and pull permits. Like I said, I already have the lumber, but I didn't want to go put in lumber and then it get rained on through the winter. So I'm educated enough that I can do the right exit strategy. What I did just learn about this, I lived on Prospect. I moved into an owner financing house, but my business address it's online, so tenants can't track me down on tax records because that's happened. So that's why Mr. Hardage he was able to find me. But reasons.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
The record will reflect that Holliday has recused. Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution is adopted. Our final 3 action items are all ordinances. At this time, we'll consider ordinance O-22-44. I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read by title only.
So moved.
Director Trustee, seconded
Second.
by Director Dobb Smith. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules and read by title only signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Council, please read by title.
Ordinance 022-44, an ordinance amending the zoning map to designate CTR zoning at 520 Lakeshore Drive and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to
moved.
adopt.
So moved.
Director Weatherford,
Second.
seconded by Director Trustee. And Kathy Selman, Director of Planning and Development, will provide the staff overview.
Thank you. Planning Commission approved a site plan in 2021 for short-term rental cabins, 30 of them, on this site. And so the owner has an approved site plan, which he described during his application period as being for short-term rental cabins. This is an R zone, as it is now. 6 months following that approval, the Board of Directors amended the short-term residential rental ordinance by reducing the 500-unit cap in residential zones to 400. Given that we have exceeded 400 by 50, give or take, as of today, the applicant believes it's unlikely that short-term rental licenses would be available for his cabins, and he is correct, rendering his approved project unfeasible. If you'll recall, and you will find in your board action request, kind of a chronology of your thoughts and actions regarding short-term rentals. Short-term rental regulation in Hot Springs is in its infancy, and what seemed like a great way to go in the beginning, as time has passed, better ways of dealing with short-term rental licenses appeared, and the board on several occasions amended the ordinance that governed short-term rentals. We have a very much unanticipated outcome of at least one of those ordinance amendments. So the subject property is 15.77 acres. It's in the 500 block of Lakeshore Drive with 1,300 feet of frontage on Lakeshore Drive. It is surrounded by C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District zoning and by residential zones on its various sides. The surrounding land uses are primarily undeveloped wooded land. This is a steeply sloped 15 acres and is somewhat separated from the developed single-family residential that is in the area. The application includes a statement by the applicant that the property demonstrates compatibility with surrounding zoning. And I will spare you the reading of the 6 reasons or findings that are mandatory to make when considering a change of zone. But the applicant has made his attempt to justify his request by saying the proposed short-term rental project fronting Lakeshore Drive was unanimously approved at Planning Commission on December 9th, 2021. It is uniquely situated between residential and commercial zones. The Lakeshore Drive, Aviation Plaza, and McLeod Street area is a hybrid of community businesses and private residences, serving both large residential and commercial activities. And then he goes on to specifically address the existing zoning and uses in the area. One of the standards for a mandatory finding in a zone change is that the application responds to a significant change in surrounding physical, economic, land use, or other condition. In approving SPA 21-176, which is the 30 short-term rental cabins, Planning Commission found compatibility with adjacent development and zoning. Now, those circumstances are unchanged. What has changed is that the license cap for residential zones, which we found to be a significant other condition, as anticipated by the code in the mandatory findings. The 2022 cap reduction to 400 created unanticipated consequences for the applicant's approved site plan development, removing his ability to qualify for short-term rental licenses under the now reduced residential zone cap and creating a financial or economic obstacle. The applicant's development plan is SPA 21-176, and that plan would remain regulatory if the rezone is approved. Planning Commission did find that the requirements for zone change were met, in that the applicant successfully demonstrated those standards were met, and that there is a basis for Planning Commission's recommendation to the board that the proposed zone change meets those mandatory findings. At their duly advertised October 13, 2022 meeting, Planning Commission voted 7-0 to recommend approving the requested zoning map amendment after calling for testimony and considering the record. Planning Commission made a specific finding that the change was compatible, responded to a significant change in economic or other conditions, that being the short-term rental cap reduction for residential zones to 400, effective January 1st, 2023, and that the change is consistent with the objectives of the zoning code. And so Planning Commission's recommendation to the board is that you consider this application and approve an ordinance changing the zoning to CTR.
Any questions of Ms. Selman? Director Garcia?
Is it correct that if the plan is changed from something other than what this plan for the 30 cabins, it would go back to planning and the Planning Commission?
Yes, it would. Any non-residential use that might be eligible for approval on this site subsequent to success with this request to change to CTR would require Planning Commission approval. With regard to residential uses, the uses in the existing R4 zone now on the property and CTR are nearly identical.
And this, at these meetings, was there any neighborhood opposition?
No.
Nobody? Okay.
No.
Thank you.
Any additional questions of Ms. Selman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Did we have anybody sign up to speak on this?
No, sir.
Okay, any discussion amongst directors? Did we have anybody that wanted to speak on this issue? Okay, any additional discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye, ordinance is adopted. Now we'll consider ordinance O-22-45, and I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So moved.
Second.
Director Weatherford, second by Director Garcia. All in favor of the motion to suspend the rules and read by title only, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-22-45, an ordinance amending ordinance number 6252 designating PD zoning, plan development, at 401 Birchwood Bay Road to correct a zoning map error in previous city action. And for other purposes, that concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion second to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Director Weatherford, second by Director Trustee. And Ms. Salmon is back to the podium. Welcome again.
Thank you. In this case, the City of Hot Springs is the applicant, and we are seeking to correct the zoning map to depict planned development, PD, zoning for approximately 0.2 acres of land at 401 Birchwood Bay Road. This is a very unusual situation. The property itself was a part of annexation area A in many years ago. Subsequent to the annexation of the property, initial zoning for all of the lands included in annexation area A was presented first to the owners of the property in a number of kind of open house meetings and one-on-one meetings. The Planning Commission considered that zoning, as did the board, and the board adopted an ordinance in 2015 that assigned zoning to each one of the hundreds of parcels that were annexed in Area A. So the subject property is currently depicted on the zoning map as being RL, Lake Area Residential. That is not what was on the land use spreadsheet that was used in the meetings with the property owners, with Planning Commission, and also went to the board in the ordinance approving the zoning for annexation area A. This is not a rezone. It's an amendment to correct an error located within Exhibit 1, which was the zoning map in Ordinance 6252. So despite the fact that Ordinance 6252 approved a textual designation of PD zoning for this parcel, the associated map did not depict that zoning. So an ordinance amendment to 6252 is necessary to correct this error. Just to make sure that the T's were crossed and the I's dotted, this item did go to Planning Commission at their meeting in October on the 13th, and they voted unanimously, 7-0, to recommend to the board that you amend that ordinance to change the zoning for 401 Birchwood Bay to PD to correct the error in that ordinance at the time of initial zoning.
Very good. Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions of Ms. Salmon? All right. Do we have anybody speak, sign up?
No, sir.
Anybody? We don't have anybody who signed up, but is anybody wanting to speak on this matter? Any discussion amongst directors? Please call the roll.
Director Garcia.
Aye.
Trustee
Aye.
Holliday. Aye. Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Resolution, ordinance is adopted. Our final action of the evening is to consider ordinance O-22-46. And I'll entertain a motion to suspend the rules to read by title only.
So move.
I'll defer to Ms. Garcia.
A little aggressive
I
over
did not
there.
attack
She
her. I
beat
just
you
want
to
you
the
to know.
motion and you get to second.
I'll take a second on that. Is that all right?
Rock, paper,
Sorry
scissors.
about that.
So we got a motion and a second, aggressive or not, to suspend the rules to read by title only. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion is adopted. Please read by title.
Ordinance O-22-46, an ordinance approving C4 zoning at 825 Airport Road, amending the future land use plan map, and for other purposes. That concludes your reading, Mayor. If you would, entertain a motion to second to adopt.
Motion to adopt. No, we're going
Yes,
over
I'll
here.
make the motion to adopt.
Director Holliday made the motion, seconded by Director Dobbs-Smith.
I think he was brave enough.
What's that?
Yeah,
You're good?
I made the motion. She's going to second. Yes.
Okay, Director Trustee makes a motion.
I'll second.
And Director Holliday makes a second.
And I didn't hit anything. I just want you to know that's good.
Director Selman will provide her final report of the evening.
Thank you. Normally, when we have a split zone, that's an unusual thing, but in the context of the other items on tonight's agenda, this is fairly routine. We have a new business owned by Mr. Pat Hobbs. He's represented by Aaron Burrows of Atoka, and he is requesting on this split zone property, which is currently C4, Regional Commercial Open Display along Airport Road. The back half of it is zoned something else. It's R2 Suburban Residential District. It has a future land use classification of residential low and linear commercial corridor. It's in Board of Directors District Number 4. Approximately 1.95 acres of unplatted land, and it's about 50-50 C4 and residential. Planning Commission duly advertised and called for testimony at their October 13, 2022 meeting. By their 7-0 vote to accept staff report findings and recommendation, Planning Commission recommends that the Board of Directors approve an ordinance amending the zoning map from R2 Suburban Residential District to C4 Regional Commercial Open Display District for this split zone property. They recommend amending the subject property's future land use plan map designation to linear commercial corridor as the rest of the property currently is designated. And they were able to make findings that this demonstrates compatibility with surrounding development and zoning, responds to a significant change as the extensive large commercial development on Airport Road demonstrates, and that this is consistent with the objectives of the zoning code. So we ask your consideration of the ordinance.
You got any questions of Ms. Selman? You did an expert job.
Thank you very much.
Do we have anybody sign up to speak on this?
No, sir.
No. Anybody want to speak on this?
I can say a few words, I guess.
Oh,
I think Kathy's pretty much made the case for it, but the property is one parcel piece of property. The front half
this
is
is
zoned
Mr. Aaron
commercial.
Burrows, an engineer.
I'm sorry. Aaron Burrows, 110 Hunter Cove Court, representing Atoka Inc. and Mr. Pat Hobbs, business owner and developer. He has modular mobile home sales in Texarkana, and he's going to open a office here in Hot Springs to sell modular homes. The front half of the property is already zoned commercial. The back half is zoned residential. Probably the only reason it was divided is there was a house on the back of the property that was used as a rental house. Mr. Hobbs is going to convert that rental house into an office space and then operate the whole 2 acres of land as mobile home sales. It's surrounded on 3 sides by commercial property, as Ms. Selman kind of already said. There is some residential property to the south. Some of that residential property to the south is actually also businesses. There's a Cultured Marble place operated there. I'm not sure of the houses there, but if they're residents or rental houses as well, but basically 3 sides of the property is already commercial.
The access to the property for those wanting to visit or, look at the modular homes, is it from the side that had the little house on it, or is it the other side, or how will you access
The main entry will be, we've already developed a site plan for the property, including grading, drainage, pavement, and it's gone through. We went ahead and submitted that through the DRC process when we went through planning. We didn't have to, but we wanted to get the comments from all of the staff departments. And so it's already been approved. And so we will be developing the entryway on Airport Road. And in fact, that's already been submitted and approved by RDOT for expansion of the existing driveway onto Airport Road and sidewalks as well. Sidewalks and green space, 5-foot wide sidewalk and 3-foot green space. There is a small piece of property that accesses on Stonehurst in the back. The map online for the county is not exactly correct. The survey indicated that it, but again, the parcel maps are there for tax purposes more than they're not survey quality, and it's been surveyed. And there's not a lot of property actually on Stonehurst that belongs to Mr. Hobbs.
Okay. Any additional questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any discussion amongst directors? Hearing none, please call the roll.
Director Trustee.
Aye.
Holliday.
Aye.
Dobbs Smith.
Aye.
Weatherford.
Aye.
Garcia.
Aye.
Mayor McCabe.
Aye. Ordinance is adopted. That completes the action items this evening. Now we're on to Board of Directors items for discussion. Directors have any individual items for discussion?
Now, was it announced about our meeting time next week? Do we need to remind?
Yeah, next week. Thank you, Director Garcia. With Election Day Tuesday, the city agenda meeting, the agenda meeting will be held at 4 o'clock on Wednesday.
Okay.
So we'll meet on Wednesday and at 4 o'clock, right here at City Hall.
Very good.
Any other items for discussion?
I just want to say that last Friday I attended the whatever you want to call it, luncheon for the city employees down at the farmers market, and quite impressed with the city employees and the outfits that they wore for Halloween. It was something else. Some of them I didn't recognize, but it was also on the way home last night, I went down Emery Street to get to the house, and 6:15 or something like that, and all the parking lots at the high school area was completely full, and there was a line out of the junior academy all the way over to the high school. But I heard this morning that from a couple people who went, it was quite organized, and they got through it really quickly and had a good time.
I heard they had a cat in the hat loose over in that area somewhere.
Well, I was in the downtown area on Bathhouse Row. You know, Mackenzie Simon, the owner of Fat Bottoms Cupcakes, she provides hundreds of pounds of candy to downtown merchants. I know she provided Hotel Hale 200 pounds of candy, and other merchants that would be open, she would provide equal or more to them. There was a ton of people downtown, and both all ages, everybody dressed up. And you know, the tourists who were downtown, many of them stopped and talked to me. They were very much impressed with the ongoing. Sometimes when you're a tourist, you kind of stumble into things, and it causes you to kind of, you know, wonder what's going on, and they may be impacted by getting to a restaurant, getting in their car, driving through downtown. But they took it all in stride, and they thought it was just the most wonderful display of community, you know, coming together. All kinds of people were downtown, and the police department did a fantastic job. They were at least 16 strong throughout the downtown area, monitoring the crosswalks, and they had their I don't know what you call it. I'll call it a red flashing wand. So whenever somebody was going to cross the crosswalk, they were out there in the middle with their wand and signaling to the motorists that, hey, you got to stop now. And So it was quite an event, and it was a kind of a short window, which was good. It was from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., and certainly there were people walking up and down the streets before that and after that, but from a distribution of the candies and the kind of the storefronts, you know, they were open during those times. So congratulations again to Mackenzie Simon for her efforts, and it's just a wonderful event. So any further comments? I will say, for one, that I was distributing pieces of candy to, might have been 5,000 kids or so. And if you came kind of later in the day, more closer to when I saw my inventory of candy being depleted, those last few kids got more than a bucket full of candy. I was ready to be done with it, and so some of them were like in awe that they hit the jackpot, and they did for us. I mean, we closed it down then, and they went on to other stores. So it was a great night for everybody.
Mayor, you mentioned the police that were down helping in the crosswalks, and want to thank the chief and those guys. They were all there overtime. I mean, they'd already ran their shifts and then went down there and took care of that. And I know it was a pretty big lift for the department and those individuals that took place. So really appreciate that. I know you had a big crew out at the high school too. So appreciate what you did.
It is one of those nights. It is certainly a community activity, and they're there to provide for a safe environment in being downtown, and you'd hope that everybody would always drive slow and pay attention, but there is tremendous amount of traffic going between the business side and the national park side, and so their support and ensuring the safety of all is vitally important and greatly appreciated. All right, Director Weatherford, you kind of used up your words a minute ago, but you got anything else you'd like to offer?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Zebra Cape time.
All right. Thank you all very much. We are adjourned.